Welcome back, Dramatic Pause, to Counterculture with Lumberjacks.
Yes.
Oh, we are Lumberjacks today. And we got the greatest background, and life is... Whoa.
Look at that tree back there. I'm going to lift it myself. I got to get it right. Over here.
We are definitely Counterculture.
Yes.
You're Pastor Mark. I'm Andy. We talk about things... look at things at a different perspective. How can we look at our culture and go, how can we be not against it, but just going against the flow of it so that we do not get swept away?
Yep.
One of the things that we were talking about last night in our Bible study at my church was this whole idea in James, right? Chapter 3, right? We were talking about verse 13, right? So
I don't know. I wasn't there.
you weren't there, right?
So I'm right. I can't answer. You're right.
You can. You could just assume that I'm always right. Dramatic effect for this pause is important.
And then we'd have to have an altar call, and I would have to go down and repent for assuming you were always right.
Well, our producer can back me up on this.
Okay.
So here we go.
Okay. I am going to take it by faith
Oh, that's beautiful.
that you were right.
Okay. So can you read verse 13?
I can. Who is wise and understanding among you? Let him show it by his good life, by deeds done in the humility that comes from wisdom.
So we live in a culture that is constantly trying to prove that it is wise, right? That they know what's best. We could give you could give me, I could give you 100 examples. But the difference when we talk about counterculturalism, we talk about how do we stand out? How do we look different? Everybody's trying to look wise. Again, you look on the news, there's 15 people talking about the exact same thing, all trying to stand out from the other, all trying to look like they are more wiser than the next person, right? All have degrees, all have qualifications, all have experience, they all look great. But to me, when I'm looking at all of these people, what stands out is how they do it, how they say it. Right? And so James says to us, listen, when we're doing all this stuff, right, we need to keep in mind to do it with gentleness, to do it, some versions say, with humility, right? So I want you to talk to me a little bit about this whole idea of we live in a culture that lacks humility today. We're constantly told to put ourselves ahead. And we see this in the church all the time. Self-promotion, right, is a big thing inside the church and outside of the church. So how, first of all, when I say the word humility, what do you think? What comes to mind? And then second, how do we become a person of humility in a culture that totally is prideful in nature?
Well, I just want to clarify, my spiritual gift.
Yes.
Is humility. I mean, it just is. I'm not bragging. I'm just saying.
It's not at all why I picked this out.
Where's Mel when I need him? He loves that my spiritual gift is humility. I'm trying to bestow it on him, transfer it to him, but he's not receiving it very well. Humility. I love what I heard. Humility is not thinking It's not thinking less of yourself, but it's thinking of yourself less.
Yes. Yep.
So when I'm thinking about this and looking at this, there's a piece of us, all of us, I think. I've gotten myself in trouble for this. There's a bit of us that we're all a little bit narcissistic. I know we're not narcissists, but we like to think of ourselves. We want affirmation more than correction. That's all of us. We'd rather hear a little, maybe we would tolerate a little constructive criticism, but certainly a little destructive criticism. We get that more than anything. We don't want that.
Yep.
But to go into a situation, and I think so, like you're talking about all these people wanting, they want to bloviate and talk about their position. They want to be the smartest person in the room. I've been around those people. But humility, I think, in these situations comes in with this idea, maybe I'm going to learn something from someone else.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe I can come into this and there's something I can learn. Or if not anything I'm going to learn, certainly I will discover something that maybe I didn't think about before. You know, the defensiveness that often comes in situations where we express that is because maybe we're afraid. We don't want to look stupid. I don't want anybody to think I don't know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
And so what ends up happening, it happens to me as I come in talking about something I don't really know anything about, trying to think I know. The best thing you do is just say, you know what, I really don't know anything about that. And to say, but I'm willing to learn. And to say, you know what, maybe part of our problem is we do not see the other person in the image of God. We see them as our enemy. Instead of saying, this person has value, I may not agree with them. That does not mean I don't, that I have to think ill of them. I just don't agree with them. Now, there's some people, probably we have all gotten there, they're just not very nice people. And that maybe we need to just look at that and say, okay, you know what? They get to choose to be the adult they want to. I get to choose to be the adult I want to, as a friend of mine used to say. And win them over with our, where does it talk about that in Scripture? I can't think of it. We can win them over with our love and our grace. Hopefully, you know. So that's it. But where's Paul talk about it? He goes, you know, when you answer someone, don't do it in such a way that you're going to cause, you know, that they're going to treat people in a way that they're going to, if they are going to treat you bad, they're going to be the ones that look bad because, well, they didn't do anything to you. They're being nice to you. Yeah, but I'm going to be mean to them anyway.
So I think there's a ton of what you just said there is good. It's
I'm
about
sorry.
probably
I'm rambling.
15 chasing the winds right there, right?
Goodness.
But I do love what you said about the fact that a lot of times when people respond to us or are talking to us, if we don't like what they're saying, we don't like the way they're saying it,
Right.
we immediately treat them as if they're an enemy. Right? Like, so you and I can be talking, we can be having a great talk, we're good friends. But all of a sudden I say, no, Pastor Mark, I don't agree with you on that. Well, if you're not in a right place to receive that, right, you can immediately treat me in tone, right, in words and actions as if I'm your enemy.
What don't you agree with?
See?
So why haven't you talked to me about this sooner, Andrew?
Exactly.
What is it you don't agree with me on? What? Really?
And then our conversation is pretty useless, isn't it? That's exactly right. That's what happened.
Yeah.
I mean, how many times have you and I and many others, you know, been talking to somebody in a ministry setting and things are going great and we think, oh, wow, man, this person's on board. And then we say something, right? Or challenge somebody with something like, hey, maybe have you ever thought about that? And the whole tone of the conversation changes. And all of a sudden, now I'm going to treat you like we're enemies, right? And, I mean, I've sat in hour-long meetings before where in the last 30 seconds somebody has gotten up and stormed off. And the whole rest of the meeting up to that point, I would have said to you, was good in nature. We accomplished a whole bunch of stuff, right? Like you're just, how do we avoid that, right? How do we be able to listen to other points of view, whether it's in person, on the TV, on the internet, wherever, whatever. How do we avoid this idea of if somebody doesn't agree with me, I get to treat them as if they're my enemy?
Right. And I see this so often in the church. We were talking about it earlier. You know, well, they yelled at me. You know, we had some teen girls in our church years ago. Now they've grown up, but I mean, and I called them out one day because they were like, well, the teacher yelled at me because I didn't do my homework or something. I said, did they really yell at you? Yes. What did they say? I said, why didn't you do your homework? That's not yelling at you.
Nope.
No, it's not yelling at you. They asked you why you didn't do your homework. There's a big difference on that. Hurting people hurt people.
Yep.
John Maxwell said it over.
Yep.
He said it over and over again. Our churches are full of hurting people, wounded people. That it does not take much. Ow!
Yep.
No. So we have to look at things and say, wait a minute, is this personal? Or are they really just trying to help me? I've had to redirect people before and say, No, they didn't say it that way. That's how you heard it.
Hmm?
But that's not how they said it, and it's not how they meant it. What they were trying to do is say, wow, that event you did amazing at it. There was this one thing, though, may I make a suggestion or give a little feedback? That is not a criticism. Sometimes it's, I don't know that you realize this did not work. Oh, my goodness. I remember when I was early in my ministry, and a guy who was very quiet in the church, and he came in after a men's Bible study, and he sat down in my office, and and he just sat there, and he was trying. I couldn't tell at the moment, but now I look back, and he was trying to figure out how to bring this up to me, something up to me, and he said, "Mark, I need to talk to you," and I jokingly said, "Well, I didn't do it." He goes, "Yes, you did."
Yeah.
Oh man! And this guy was such that he didn't come in and rail on me a lot.
Thing. Yeah. Yep.
And he had my attention instantly, and he started telling me, and it was something very innocent. But you can cut someone with a knife on purpose, and you can cut them on a knife on accident, and it's still a wound. And it was it was not intentional. But he started. I said, "You don't have to say another word.
Yeah.
I get. I know where you're going." And anyway, we talked about it, and I said that was not my. He goes, "I know it wasn't." He goes, "But this is affecting someone in my family."
See,
I apologize because I know, Mark, and I didn't do it again. Now I could have gotten all puffed up, and I was probably immature, and I did get puffed up at times when people would correct me and try, but I knew this guy loved me for one. Wanted to see me succeed and excel, wanted what was best for me, and did not want to hurt me. And I knew that well enough that he did not want to hurt me. There's some people that just come in and their woundedness, his woundedness was not there. It worked out. At some point we have to mature enough to step back and say, how interesting. I need to think about this so that we can stop and say, wait a minute, is this Summer's stuff that she's projecting on me, or is there something really here that I need to look at? If it's her stuff, then I need to pray for her. I'm using her because she's sitting there probably all triggered or something right now. I'm joking. But to be able to say, wait a minute here, is that how that was meant?
Yeah.
But we, our culture today, we should be influencing our culture. I think a primary example is the new Speaker of the House getting hammered for his faith. And when he was asked about it, he says, it doesn't matter to me. I'm still going to follow, I'm still going to serve the Lord and live for the Lord. Yep. It doesn't matter to me. You could get really offended by that. And that's why some people, I've asked my congregation, I've pitched this to them many times. Are you more concerned about losing your friends, or are you more concerned about your friends being lost?
Yeah. Well,
because if you're more concerned about the first part, you're not going to tell them about Christ. If you're more concerned about the second part, you're going to tell them about Jesus and how much he loves them.
Yeah, you should definitely preach that one. That should definitely be. But I love, and you should preach this one as well, right? Because I love what you said. I think unintentional and intentional wounds end up with the same place. You have a wound. I think in my life, me personally, I love to stake my tent on but I didn't mean it.
Yes.
You're taking it the wrong way.
Yeah.
I didn't mean it that way, right? We're constantly trying to convince people that their hurt is not legitimate.
Right.
Right? Rather than just saying the hurt is the hurt, whether at that point it's already hurt.
Okay, so we got so now the big word these days is trigger. You got a trigger warning. I worked for an organization. It was very interesting that we used to teach about this. You're not responsible for someone else's triggers.
Yep.
Until, of course, wait a minute, this might affect the organization, so you can't. You got to go clean that up. Wait a minute here. I thought you told me I wasn't responsible for their triggers. They needed to take it. And so that is something that we really need to look at today. To walk around on eggshells today, I don't think we should intentionally go around, well, who can I hurt today?
Gentleness, humility does
right. But to know that, okay, I need to speak the truth in love. I always love it when people say, well, Pastor, I'm just speaking the truth. Yeah, but did you do it in love? Or did you do it to be right? Well, I did it, love. No, you didn't. Let's be honest here. You did it to be right. Okay, so if I'm going to say something, so I'm not saying this to hurt you, but what I do need to tell you, matter of fact, I love what Frank Turek says. If I love someone, I am going to speak the truth.
Yep.
Because it's harmful, you know.
But there's a big difference between being right and being righteous.
Right.
Right. That
Right.
That gentleness.
Yeah. How
that
come you never say
humility.
righteous? Righteous? You know, you always say right.
Right. No,
How come you just say
righteous.
righteous?
Righteous. I want to be righteous, not right.
Right.
And sometimes those are the same thing.
Yes.
Sometimes they're not white.
Yeah. Exactly. Exactly.
Beautiful. All right. Now, listen.
What?
You got a ton of chasing the winds that you can preach now out of this. So I'm going to leave it right there. There's a lot for people to chew on and
So
think
chew on
about.
it. So chew on it.
First question would be, are you a humble person?
I am. I am.
Are you a humble person?
I
Do
won
things
an
with
award for
gentleness.
it one time.
You're the most humble person.
And I told everybody about it, and they took it back.
Oh, Lord.
Oh,
Oh, please help.
that was so bad you had to call
I
the
know.
Lord to help you. I know. I know.
It does make me want to write a award for you. A reward for you. All right, we're going to leave it right there. We'll see you next time. Counterculture.
Grace and peace.